is iRacing.
Well, what makes a great circuit so incredible like this? You've got high-speed racing, you've got wonderful chicanes out there, a circuit that goes up and over the countryside here just outside of San Marino in Italy. And you get a circuit that is pretty much the greatest single lap that you can ever have in terms of a track. Welcome to the Autodromo Internazionale, Enzo e Dino Ferrari, otherwise known as Imola, and we get ourselves set and ready for racing action for your classic Lotus Grand Prix here in 2025 Season 3, Round 3 of the championship. My name's Shakespeare, Craig King, along with me for the ride here today. And Craig, the game is very simple at the moment. It's been one race start, one race win for the top of the championship, but today is a chance to say it's more than just one start, one win. It's a chance to gather momentum.
Time to gather the momentum. The season has fully started, and we're going to see if some drivers can capitalize on what they've managed to do this season. Championship is tight, but early doors and early days, we still got a long way to go.
Yeah, and we will understand what makes this such a tough championship in the next few moments. But before we do that, there is one circuit we need to talk about, and it's this one here at Imola. If you're brand new to us and you don't quite understand what makes this circuit so special, here's a GSRC track guide that gives you all of the information.
Welcome to the Autodromo Internazionale Enzo e Dino Ferrari, but most race fans know this place as simply Imola. This circuit in the northern part of Italy has seen some of the highest highs and lowest lows in motorsports history. The various tragedies that have marred the track left no choice but to alter it in the name of safety. While it originally featured mostly fast, sweeping corners, its modern 3-mile or 5-kilometer version is punctuated by tricky chicanes and incredibly technical turns. iRacing includes the Grand Prix layout and a moto version, which adds one more chicane to the front stretch. Tamburello is perhaps the most notorious of the corners for claiming the life of multi-time world champion Ayrton Senna when it was still a single breathtaking turn. Now the Triple Apexer not only offers potential passing opportunities, but catches out drivers quite frequently. While heavy braking zones are everywhere, because few places allow the cars to get up to speed, overtaking is generally seen as an exercise in frustration. As if to almost counteract this quality, the track itself is situated in a gorgeous public park and sends the drivers through the beautifully calming Italian countryside. It also includes a fair bit of elevation change, in which the track is split between the higher up back half and the lower first portion. It's no wonder that this place still proves popular with drivers and fans in spite of its difficulties in history. The Tifosi keep returning each and every time the sound of engines roar among the trees, and who can blame them?
A circuit that has hosted the Cycling UCI World Championships, a circuit that also featured on the start of the Tour de France last year. But here in Italy, Imola is one of those circuits just away from Venice and the Adriatic that proves to be very tough. 21 turns to try and get correct through Tamburello, Villeneuve, Tosa, possibly the most unassuming hairpin in the world of motorsport, but then that run up to Curva Grassini, possibly the very most difficult challenge on the lap, along with that wonderful complex over at Acqua Minerale and at Ravazza.
Yeah, it's fantastic, and the elevation changes do change a lot here for this 4.9 kilometer, 3.05 mile track out there today. It's interesting, when these cars drove in the late 70s, they did not have the chicanes that you see at Tamburello and Villeneuve now. There was a little chicane down on the start-finish straight right at the end, but that's gone now, and the high speeds will be very interesting to see overtakes. Keep an eye out for Toza. It is such a tough corner to make an overtake. You make it in 6 and 5 through Villeneuve, you can get a really good run, and that could be a very crucial overtaking spot.
And you may have just seen there with our rolling B-roll out there, the Brazilian flags that are that rest over at Tamburello. Of course, 1994, May 1st, the darkest day of motorsport, the passing of the legendary Ayrton Senna, which is always a memorial here in iRacing with the statue that is dedicated over there. But let's talk championship for the moment, because this is where everybody wants to gear themselves up and say they're at the top. And it's currently even keel. Pauli Parsonen and Togo Hesada. Togo is here, but the two drivers behind are not, which are, of course, Pauli Parsonen and Jerno Fritzsche. Daniel Gallis finds himself in 4th with Timothy Reed 5th, ahead of JB Masada and Gabri Martinez in 7th position. You've then got Ricardo Ruiz in 8th with Javier Mosquera 9th, and it's a lot for the Spaniards out there with Ferran Grau as well, rounding out the top 10 in the field. But it's not just the F1 standings to worry about. Yes, we've split today in terms of our field, but there's also the F2 driver standings, where it looks like a very interesting picture already.
Yeah, these are for the drivers under 3,000 iRacing. Keith Herner, don't see him in the top split today, but that doesn't matter. Can still get points in the second split if he's there with Miguel Morland. Very close. Remember, they get points based on their time overall compared to every split. If your average time in the second split is faster than a guy in P5 in the top split, you get 5th place points. That's how the point standings work even for these drivers. So everything's still to play for. One of those drivers at the back of that top 10 could still gain a lot of positions. But we also, Jake, have the team championship, something that anybody can get on board with.
They absolutely can. Of course, the best team of 2 is going to get yourself there, and it's currently the Candy Team Tyrrell who find themselves on top. Hans Sommer and Miguel Morland, then part of that team with Marlboro Team McLaren in 2nd. Then it's the Williams Racing Team in 3rd, ahead of Team Essex Lotus. Then Unipart Racing Team Ensign find themselves in 5th. Jib Racing in 6th, ahead of ATS. Then it's the Krakowiak Racing Team with, guess who, Jason Krakowiak in 8th. Equipe Ligier Gitanes find themselves 9th, with Northern Winter Racing rounding out the top 10 in that category as things go. But what happens with today's racing is going to be worth keeping an eye out on, because our race details here come up onto screen. It will be a 25 lap race that they will have to go and encounter here today on round 3 of 12. And so those 25 laps will be conducted with open setup, so the car will play differently for everyone. No spare car if you get yourself into trouble, but with every iRacing server now, it's a case of a drive through at 17 and disqualification at 25. So drivers around here more likely to find themselves beached in the gravel than they are to pick up all those points.
And let's not forget as well, the little sausage curves and rumble strips. So if you try to avoid the gravel, you're also going to have to try and avoid the inside of some of these curves of the chicane, because the last thing you want to see is this car go a little bit flying. That's the last thing anybody wants to see out there today. And the thing we do see is qualifying, because Togo Hesada has just put the car on pole by such a margin.
Exactly 9/10 of a second. Togo Hesada has gone nuclear in terms of his lap time. He has gone and found a wonderful lap to put him right up on the top level. And he knows, compared to Kartik Pai behind, Taylor Lane, Gabri Martinez in 4th position, he has got a wonderful turn of pace that he will be looking to usurp out there over the course of running. Up over with Togo Hesada, and get this, that's just his first lap here in weather conditions where it's 46 degrees out there in terms of a track temperature, looking to go and improve on that 31.8. Diving down the hill through the first of 2 Ravazza corners. The second one is flat, which often does catch quite a few drivers out for the lack of elevation, and along this long run towards the end of the lap, turn 21, right on the finish line.
It's right on the finish line. It's not faster It's still faster than everyone else. Kartik Pai already set his time out there. And in fact, I'm just looking around. I think everybody has managed to set their lap times. They have indeed. Just one more driver that can go out. And this is Jean-Francois Lotus. But he has already done his lap. This is his second lap. This is just a sighting lap. And he realizes that this should be all she wrote, Jake.
Yeah, just trying to practice a racing start then before getting ready for racing. Andrew Dixon has pulled the car over in the middle of the road. We're in a closed qualifying condition, not an open qualifying condition, which means that these drivers are on their track effectively on their own. They're not at risk of being attacked by any other drivers out there, which would make a completely different scenario for the qualifying that we've had. But that's your grid on the left-hand side, and we're going to get it up and nicely placed here for racing action at what is a scorching hot Imola here today. This 4.91 kilometer circuit proving to be all of the challenge, and your grid is going to look as follows. No surprises to see Togo Hesada on the top on pole position, but a 9/10 of a second margin might be the biggest shock of the day so far. Kartik Pai will find himself in second with Taylor Lane in third position. Gabri Martinez will go from fourth ahead of Ricardo Ruiz in fifth, as we get that on your screen now. Julius Muller will go from sixth position with Connor Levy, in seventh ahead of Jean-Francois Boscos. Your top 10 is rounded out by Bjorn Ackermann and Shadi Ahmad.
We get to the second page, and it will be Alexander Matei, who will be in 11th, with Nicky Friesen in 12th, followed by Barry West in a very high 13th. Daniel Gallas will take 14th, with Jason Kraviak, 15th. Miguel Mortland, 16th. Alex Kessig will take 17th, with Kurt Clapper in 18th. Matthew Cockerham will be 19th. Dixon will be 20th.
29 drivers here today. Byron Long is in 21st position with Carlos Peralta alongside then in 22nd. It then follows with Ellis Spice and Gord Jonot in 24th. Keith Herner and Alec Cunningham are going to be 25th and 26th. The last time was set by Ben Summers with a 1:36.440. Jason Clapper, by having more iRacing than Fabrizio Raffa, will start 28th rather than 29th. He loves a last to first challenge, but they have 2 minutes to grid themselves up or choose to elect a pit lane start here today, which is often the case that around a circuit like this, you want to avoid the crunch at Tamburello. Turns 2, 3, and 4 with the anti-cut curbs on either side. So starting from the pits might not be a bad idea. Waiting for Carlos Peralta then to jump up onto the grid. And I think that will make everybody happy with where they are. So on Peralta's prerogative, we will wait before we get ourselves sorted. And there's only 10 seconds left before the gridding process is made in its entirety. There goes Carlos Peralta onto the grid, which means the lights will now start to come on for Togo Hesada, for Kartik Pai, Taylor Lane and Gabri Martinez. They will sit and wait and say, can we make 25 laps work for us? Green flag in the air and we're underway, and it's a slow start from Taylor Lane off at the front. What a launch by Gabri Martinez, who thinks about moving into second and thinks about the race lead, chopping over to the outside. Hesada will cover the line on the inside and gets the run through Tamburello. Everybody picketing their way through at 1 wide, at 2 wide to go through, and outside of that, not really any other dramas to speak of. They'll run to the Villeneuve chicane, but it's crucially Hesada who's got the start that's wanted. Martinez in second and Kartik Pai in third.
Big crash in the back of the field going into the start line after the launch. Miguel Mortland just getting a better run. Took it 3 wide by accident, tried to close the door, and unfortunately made contact with another driver, Alex Kessick, as well. Got caught up, as did Jason Kraviak, and more drivers going around as Julius Muller now in the background, having a bit of a tie. So the leaders all clean, but as you get out that top 10, it's very chaotic and very spread out.
Julius Muller spinning on his own, trying to battle Connor Levy through at Tosa corner, so not having the grip and causing all of those dramas. No yellow flags to play with here in this race. They will just have to drive it as they see it as they go on through. Now to the curve of Grassini, what used to be known as the Variante Alta. Grassini, a massive figure when it comes to motorcycle racing, especially when it comes to the management side of the great Italian bike manufacturers like Ducati, for example. Now going through the final corner there of Ravazza, or the last corner of braking of note to go through, and the pop-art car of Gabri Martinez then in second position. Hesada has already checked the second out, So it's Pai in third, Lane fourth, and then your top five rounded out by Ricardo Ruiz. Here goes Shadi Ahmad in the Repsol car, looking to get by Bjorn Ackermann there with the unicorn on the front, and Ahmad, too deep into the corner. Big hit over the tyre for Connor Levy, who managed to levy his position nicely, but here comes Ackermann for Villeneuve.
Yeah, Ackermann's going to go side by side into Villeneuve, and Levy's got nowhere to go. It looked like Shady Ahmad was trying to outbrake Ackermann there, but he kind of almost accidentally outbraked two drivers and was just losing a lot of time. Well, we got a bit of a lull. Look at this GSRC replay. It's Miguel Morton, you can see, just starting to close up there. He wouldn't have had that call of 3 wide that early after the launch, but the track does kink a little bit, kind of shades of Bottas and Russell in the F1 a few years ago, I think, Jake.
Very difficult going 3 wide there in towards turn 1 and then to turn 2. Very easy to lose track of how much space you have due to the slight nature of the turn. Over to the left-hand side going towards Tamburello, turns 2, 3 and 4. Looking at Jean-Francois Boschkus out there at the moment. Then in the Albiland car there, the Albiland Williams effort out there at this point. They're all running Lotus 79s. It's a series that everyone's got the same car to work with, but because it's the Classic Championships, everyone loves a good classic livery out there. Like this mock-up GTP ZXT from Mickey Friesen, who is in 12th position at the moment, exactly where he started the race.
Well, Mickey Friesen drives a Audi GTO in the IMSA Vintage season, and it's not a GTP, so he's gone with that classic Nissan livery here. We don't see him usually going to the open wheelers. It's a nice treat to see him out here today, really trying to tangle with some of the best. And in front of him is a legend in iRacing with Barry West, but behind, more positions going. This feels like the 80s with the two Marlboro McLarens having a little bit of a battle with Keith Herner getting past straight away. Jason Clapper is now going ahead. That counts. If you're keeping track with Jason Clapper, it's +9 so far. He's already up to 19th.
Connor Levy round the outside of Tozer and up the hill. 2 tyres in the grass, though, trying to put the power down, and that might open him up at Piratella. It's not naturally a passing corner. 90-degree left-hander, plateaus over the top of the hill. Oh, there's contact between them. Levy over the AstroTurf there, having to really scramble to get back on track, and ultimately loses out to Jean-Francois Boschkus and Alexander Matei, who will pick up the positions. The contact with Shadi Ahmad going up over the top of the crest, and that is just how quickly it can all fall into troubles. And there is Barry West looking to try and bring himself into play. He's got Alec Klessig there just behind, who started in 17th position. Daniel Gallis, reminder that he's right up there in the championship, but he's all the way down in 14th place. Did not get the best of qualifyings.
Going to get the best of qualifyings, and he's going to have to do his best. But what a performance this is so far for Barry West. Already up to 12. Top 10 is looking on the card, and it's a track that he's probably familiar with from a lot of other racing games and also his time here. But ahead of him, he gets to watch a little bit of a battle, because Levy's going to try and battle Friesen here. Well, it's Friesen who's going to get the run. You see the damage on the side of Levy's car after that hit with Shady and Mad last lap. A lot of damage to that side. But I mean, theory will possibly affect that downforce here. It's a grounder force downforce car here. So you've just got to think to yourself, with that much pushed in on the side, what downforce is he losing right now?
Yeah, that ground effect is going to be really important. And Alex Klessig having a little search, and he'll get oversteer off the exit of the corner of Villeneuve, and that brings to the inside of Tozer Daniel Gallis, who will quite comfortably get the launch then through the middle of the corner and move on up the position. Half defends it here, going towards Piratella, falls back half into line, and now it's up to Klessig to go and get this run down the hill to Aqua Minerale, one of the toughest sections of road on any race course here, because you've got to turn and brake at the same time here for the big right-hander, 120 degrees, back up the power, easy to spin on the exit as well, and very toughly done. By the way, last time by, Gabriel Martinez set the fastest lap on a 1:33.8 and lost 0.8 of a second. So for those who don't understand how fastest laps work in iRacing, you need to set a clean lap in order to get the fastest lap bonus point, which means Togo Hesada went off the circuit at some point, picked up a 1x incident point, 1:33.1 for Hesada over the line, and it looks like this one was a clean lap, and so officially now gets the fastest lap of the race.
And remember, the fastest lap gets you 2 points in the championship. Pole position gets you 2 points in the championship. I think Hesada last season only got a perfect sweep once in the season. So if he could get it this week, it could be very important, and he's having a really good bash at it today. Behind him, more battles going on. Martinez is trying to hold off Kartik Pai and Taylor Lane. One of the highest spots we've ever seen Kartik Pai in on a racetrack in the series for a while. Really hanging it to Martinez. Remember, Gabri had that fantastic start, and ever since then, he has been struggling a little bit, but there's not a lot of places to make moves so far. It could be a waiting game, but how long can you wait when Hesada is pulling away?
Number 44 on the helmet. Oh, left for Lewis Hampton. There's a car off there on the left-hand side. That's Togo Hesada, your race leader, off the road. Gabri Martinez got scared going through. Kartik Pai now leads this race. A crazy Aqua Minerale out of relatively nowhere. Togo Hesada just overcooked it then as he went through and had to abandon. There is a strip of grass on the outside of Aqua Minerale, which means you have to abandon ship as you go off. Otherwise, you're spinning the car. Hesada overcooking it into the corner. Gabri Martinez joins on the scene. You'll see him on the right in a moment. There he is squirting about through the grass, and Togo will be kicking himself. How did I make that mistake?
A very rare mistake from the Japanese driver. We don't see that a lot of the time, even when he drove in the 49. In the 79s, that's probably the biggest mistake he's made in 2 seasons. And it just goes to show, 4 seconds to catch up now. It's doable, it's early doors. We're at lap 6 of 25, a lot of time, but now it means this car. Kartik Pai, I'm going to have to try and find the stats, and it's going to be hard. I don't think he's ever led a lap in the broadcast here in the 79s. This is rare territory for him to be in. And behind him is Taylor Lane, another driver who just quietly ekes into those top 10s every week. Now he's on the podium step. What can Lane do in this race?
And Kartik Pai is a driver who's been driving here in iRacing for well over a decade. He participated quite a lot in the Skip Barber 2K World Cup that used to be run as a fantastic league series over with, of course, iRacing. But at the moment, it's Kartik Pai who's got that control. Taylor Lane trying to give every bit of chase with Martinez, Ricardo Ruiz in 4th, and then the fast-charging Togo Hesada, who will be in 5th and trying to run on through up to the curve of Grassini, where those anti-cut curves really do stare at you. And it's a big difference when you're chasing compared to where you are leading out there at the moment. And leading is what you got Kartik Pai doing. But watch out for Taylor Lane, thinking down the inside into Ravazza, pivoted to the inside, but critically did not have enough overlap to make the dive.
Meanwhile, in the background, Alexander Matei's had a bit of a moment out of the top 10. He'll go. We're on board with Taylor. He should have the speed. The slipstreaming these cars is pretty strong, but then you've got to slow it down. You've got to shift through the gears. Remember, these are 8-pattern cars. He'll have the outside as Kartik Pai will defend on the inside. The overspeed's too much. Lane will take the lead for the first time in this season. And now for Kartik Pai, once again, he's on the defense, he's on the attack, and he's got a really good run out of the Tamarello. Can he make this side-by-side through to Villeneuve? It's not enough, but he holds on to it. That's what he needs to do. Keep side-by-side Jake through Villeneuve. Set yourself up for Tosa. It's the only way.
Oh, and a big slide by Taylor Lane as he struggles through the mid part of Tosa. The moment that the track starts to incline up, that's where he starts to run into that trouble. And Kartik Pai wasn't quite close enough to make a move. And suddenly the group's getting close together now because you've got Gabri Martinez in play. Ricardo Ruiz, they're going to allow Togo Hesada back into the group now as they run through Aqua Minerale and back up the hill. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, all within about 2.2 seconds. On the road right now and up into the Grassini chicane. They go once again. This is about patience and this is about making minimal mistakes out there. That, for Taylor Lane, earlier on in that lap was a huge sigh of relief because that could have been his race. Gabri Martinez getting close, but not close enough.
And Ruiz goes a bit too deep into the braking zone there. I don't think it was a case of getting spooked by Martinez braking behind Pai. Martinez could have made an overtake there, decided against it, and I don't blame him. You try and make a move into Ravazza, you go side by side a bit too much, you lose a lot of time going onto this straight. Kept it safe, kept it there. But the more these 4-car battle, the more Taylor Lane catches up. Here's the position overtake there. Pai holds onto it from Martinez and he defends the inside. Real good run from Martinez, but he's made a mistake, and they're both going to get caught out here, and Hesada has to step on the brakes.
That's a big one for Gabri Martinez. Kartik Pai went sailing into the corner, somehow got it sorted, but Gabri took too much out of the first chicane, well over the anti-cut curbs, and that puts him now back with Shadi Ahmad in a fight for 5th place. So it really opens up the gaps once again, and Martinez then crossover down into Toza from Shadi Ahmad, and he's going to get drive off the exit, almost gives a little bit of a boot over to Gabri Martinez, the same way Michael Schumacher did to Juan Pablo Montoya once upon a time here. Now again, over to the outside, coming to Piratella, doesn't work for Gabri Martinez. Oh, he didn't see me there, of course.
You have to be pretty stupid if he can't. Oh, no, he couldn't see me at all. That's a shade of Montoya and Schumacher, and even more. Ahmad is struggling here. He's trying to overdrive the car out of the corners. There's 3 corners now I've seen him. Tailfish the rear, and that mistake has caused Martinez to lose another position, and he's lost his gear. This could be another position he loses. You've got the feet. He had the godlike start here to get up to P2. He almost led for the race. He's had those mistakes in that one moment, hitting the anti-cut curve. The rhythm is off now, almost getting hit in the back by Jean-Francis. It has gone from bad to worse for Gabri Martinez.
Well, we talk about drivers finding rhythm, finding momentum, and Jean-Francois Bosca sees that there is no rhythm left in Gabri Martinez. At the moment, he might be a librarian in a Phineas and Ferb animation at the moment at this rate that he's going, but for the moment, Barry West sees Jason Clapper flying through, and he's already up into the top 10. It's taken him 9 laps to gain 18 places. I put that at 2 a lap.
Well, 2 a lap means he's going to get the lead in 5 laps, and then he's probably going to overtake everybody with a few laps to go. What a performance from him. We missed Togo Husada overtaking Ruiz going into Tamburello. So he is now on that charge, and a lot of it as well isn't due to the others fighting. It's due to just him having clear air and the ability to just push with no worries about what's around him. The only time he's had a worry was that moment going into Tamburello last lap. So now he's able to just keep it cool and calm and collective, and he'll see up ahead 1 lap car, and then he'll see the leaders slowly itching together as Lane and Pai are about to get into the slipstream.
Well, we're hearing word that Togo caught a bit of a screen freeze going through and having technical issues there with the car jittering about. It's very much the same as, say, for example, going through and realizing that you don't have a brake pedal, or suddenly you're losing a gear on your car. It's very much the case of this is what simulated racing does out there. There are different challenges that can also put you in trouble. Husada then drives by Julius Muller, who's a lap down. Well, we look back at Mickey Friesen here in 9th, and look at what's going on in front as Husada sets the fastest lap. Boscus now has a great run on Gabri Martinez. This is to move on up again, pinching against the curb, looking for a way to hit the brakes strongly here at Tamburello. 3-part chicane, 2, 3, and no drive for Boscus then, and suddenly that brings Mickey Friesen in, but Friesen on the outside line leaves the door open. Through then is going to go Jason Clapper. There goes 1, eyeing up a 2nd. It'll be around the outside of Villeneuve, driving off the exit, 3 wide off the exit. Boscus has been mugged by those 2 drivers, and wide again. There is going to be more dramas because Friesen tries to get it sorted and does, and movement again proving to be vital right now in this race.
That's Jason Clapper up 20 positions. He started 2nd last on the grid. He loves doing this, and he's done that too, that we talked about. And it was interesting to see Friesen. He thought he could make the run around the outside of Toza there. It's tough. It has got a little bit of camber on that inside, so if you go around the outside, you have to keep it fast. He tried to keep that speed up, realized he overbroke himself and locked up the tires, but keep a 1 position. Boscus has got to feel bad though. He had a chance, and now he's got a surging Barry West behind him, who does have a service slowdown. So they're just going to be 2 drivers that these 3 drivers can just keep away from them. Meanwhile, Husada yet again goes purple.
Yeah, another 6/10 quicker than Kartik Pai on that last lap. The gap between them down to 1.7 seconds, and we're not even at the halfway stage of the race. A great look of VR, H-pattern shifter as well. And one of the things being in a sim rig like that is comfort there, because have you ever tried to H-pattern shift when you got VR and you can't exactly see where your gear lever is?
I mean, I've never even tried to VR before when racing. I would love to try it. I wouldn't want to try it with these things. I couldn't even H-pattern shift without a VR headset, Jake, if I'm brutally honest. There'd be too much doing. It is like rubbing your head, tapping your belly, whatever it is. You get the idea. You've got to do so much to get this car under control, and this is what the driver's like. It doesn't matter what you drive. It doesn't matter how you drive. It doesn't matter what your disabilities are or how you race. You are all racing together for the fun of it, and Barry West would be the advocate to tell anybody, get this car, get this series, and love driving it.
Sim racing equivalent of trying to stack plates on a unicycle like Red Panda. That is what we've got at the moment. Martinez has run a little deep as Hesada closes in on the leading three again. So Jason Clapper is eyeing up 7th position out there at the moment. But here on lap 11, it is Hesada who is making the big charge at the moment and pulls himself to about a second away off of Kartik Pai. Now, catching is going to be one thing, and as Murray Walker always said, passing is most certainly another, because Togo can get to the back of Kartik Pai here, can get to the back of Taylor Lane, but what happens when Kartik and Taylor start battling? Where does Togo go through?
Togo goes through doing Togo things. He is the king of the late breakers. If you've never seen him, you've never seen the iRacing highlights, he loves to take it long and deep into the braking. And this is what he will try and do. Even if he's side by side, even if he's around the outside, he will be the last man to brake. And I think that is how he's got to do it. But first, he's got to let these two have their scrap. And he realizes that that's the key moment here. Let them go ahead and race. And if they make a mistake, pounce on it. He will be saving and conserving his tires right now. Jake, it's still a 43 Celsius track temp, 110 Fahrenheit. He doesn't need to overdrive this right now. He just needs to keep safe, because we're not even halfway through the race.
Yeah, we are very much not there yet. There's still a whole half of a race that has to be constructed and managed. And Kartik Pai right now sees Taylor Lane in front and will be happy with the stasis. But there will be a case of what happens when we don't get what we need. And look at Togo Hesada now, comfortably on the back at 0.4 of a second. This is tough. This is really tough racing that now has to be put into play and to context right now, because this is where you need zero mistake racing. Pace is pace is pace. That's something that's always remembered. You can just be faster and find a way through, but if you're not making mistakes like Kartik Pai, having a half a second deficit can be defendable, as here comes Togo Hesada along the front stretch, looking through turn one, trying to open up the move. Kartik leaves the door open here for Togo to hit the brakes. Can around the outside work? Oh, just about. They leave only racing room.
Well, I think Kartik realized that Togo was going to brake late, and they both broke at the same time, and Hesada had to lift off the brakes a little bit to just get a nose ahead under braking, and it worked, but just a bit. Taylor Lane's gone off. Mistake going into Villeneuve, and he's gone off onto the gravel. He'll go down into 3rd position. Hesada takes the lead. He didn't have to do anything. He just waited for the opportunity.
One corner, just about 2 meters too early on turning, and Taylor Lane takes a trip over the anti-cut curb and finds out just how difficult this circuit is. So some wonderful bits of work. Togo Hesada back where he wants to be. Taylor Lane in the Prestanda Nomad car, just too early.
Just a bit too early there and capping off the curve. Thankfully, it's not wet. Thankfully, there's runoff there. He didn't go straight on like other drivers did today. But now he's got it all to do again. And he also realizes that if Pai has had Hesada get by him, this could be another place lost, because they may just have to say sayonara.
Look at this.
To it. Well, you look at this, though.
Yeah, Gabri Martinez is going to lose out here. Mickey Friesen making the move up at Grassini. Gets it done wonderfully there. Jean-Francois Boscus and Barry West lining up to try and find an opportunity to move on by, and not quite finding it. And there's a 5th to the party in the wings. That's Alec Klessig, who's trying to get himself close. Friesen going to be looking behind there at the Ford DFB Cosworth engine. Not quite a turbocharger in that one at the moment, but very much still the most famous engine in all of motorsport, followed secondly by the work that was done on that 1995 Toyota Corolla in the World Rally Championship. Martinez closing, but not enough.
Not enough, and I'll tell you what, he almost clipped the grass there under braking and lost the car. He was lucky enough to just hold. What a run he had there on the exit of Tamburello, but a bit of a slide. He can't really attack this. There is a lap car ahead of these two, and he might just pull over to the one side. It's Julius Muller. We'll wait to see what he does, and he does. This allows Friesen to get by. Nowhere for Martinez to go by either. So everyone gets past the lap car. More sliding from Martinez here. That's a surprise. Friesen has kept this car straight, and the straighter you keep this car, the smoother it gets. This could be vital for him to try and pull away from this mammoth pack that he's got behind.
It is a huge pack that is trying to form, but ultimately it is starting to string at the moment thanks to the lap traffic. Boskus now staying close to the back of Martinez, and Gabri, who started in 4th position, will be looking behind saying, well, what have I done wrong so far in this race to be down 5 places and battling out of position, really, to what his natural pace will say. He's needed to take lap on lap to find that consistency. It has been troublesome, but he'll also be looking out on those issues out there, as we've also got note that Alec Cunningham has had himself the black and orange mechanical flag, which is an indication if he's had to come down into the pits, which means he's whacked the wall somewhere.
Yeah, a little bit of a moment, had to tow the car as well. So that looks like his day is done as well. Conor Levy also into the pits as well for a mistake. I think he's gone as well on board with Boskus as he's trying to catch up here. And this is the worst part of this race now. He knows that Martinez has the tow, and he has to try and do it. But look at the dirty air through Tamburello. Really affecting him, and even trying to get on the throttle. The car's still sliding. Remember, 43 Celsius. Why is this a big deal, Jake? Because you have to be smoother with your input the hotter the track gets. And these drivers, you can see the ones that are being struggling with that, as we see Martinez have a mistake, and those that are comfortable in these hot conditions.
Yeah, there is a difference factor out there, and up the hill again towards Piratella with 11 laps to go. Well, 10.5 for these drivers as Jean-Francois Boskus, they're trying to get as close as possible to the rear and thinking, where am I going to go? He'll be seeing a little slide, trying to get it sorted. Half missed apex there by Gabri Martinez, but it's so well gathered off the exit. Gabri is driving a car right now at this moment, Craig, that is deciding it is incredibly tail happy. It's not afraid to plant itself down to the floor, but I do worry that the longer that Gabri Martinez goes in the race, the more those rear tyres start to wear, it's going to be a case of that car is going to be wanting to spin around at each and every place, as now Taylor Lane battles Kartik Pai. Can't quite get it done on the outside. Pai holds his place.
Yeah, the Nomad driver needing to make some moves here. And thankfully, talk about hot tyres and warm tyres, he took a trip to the gravel, so I don't think those tyres are going to be liking what he did. They had a little bit of a cool down, and then he got them back up to temperature, and that does not help the rubber at all. So he's going to have to be a little bit careful through the later stages of this race. But you've got to think, top 3, after everything that has happened, are still in the same positions they started the race in. After everything we've seen after 16 laps, I would not have put my money on that. But now comes the time. You're in the second half of the race. What have you got? Because these drivers, they've got a lot to say. Barry West is showing all the experience for his age, and a mistake from Boskus, that will allow the veteran to go on through.
Yeah. And now for Jean-Francois Boskus, he will look around and see it's Barry West now who's trying to fight his way back. And again, Barry gets what he wants at Piratella corner. It's a small thing of going from attacking to defending, and you'll see it in groups like this. One mistake from one is an opportunity for another. Barry West pounces on it. He's got so much experience in this series. He's seen pretty much every way to make an overtake, and there he goes through like he's a case of Benedict Cumberbatch out there at the moment in the Marvel universe, and seeing all possibilities, and says, that one, I'll have that.
Well, I'll have that. You have that. I'll have this as well. Taylor Lane trying to go around the outside. Can't make it stick. And it's really good because, again, remember I talked about Toga Hisada? Really good late braking. Kartik Pai's turned up to the party today and gone, hey, I know how you do it, and I'm going to do it myself. And that's really good defense from him. Yet again, he has to take the inside line to defend against a driver into Tamburello. He makes it stick. He makes it work. And that is vital. But the more they fight, the more Toga Hisada gets ahead. And usually that's the problem, because Hisada's lapping a second faster than he needs to begin with. once they do fighting like that in Tamburello, add another half a second, maybe even add another second if they keep going side by side. This all of a sudden looks like they're just going to have to accept a battle for P2.
Yeah, this is a case of, we know we've not got the pace of Togo. We might need another screen freeze to get ourselves home and hose with a chance of winning. But for Kartik Pai and Taylor Lane, these are still very important championship points that have to be considered between now and the end of the season, when you've got some of the best drivers not here today, like Jarno Fritzsche and Pauli Partanen. You turn up to the books and you say, well, if they're not here, whose points are they going to be taking? Well, we'll take those because we'll absolutely love to be right up there in the championship. This is what we call a day of must-make for those who have been in and around the top 5 and 10.
Usually when any series comes to Imola, you always get the drivers you don't normally see battle out for the top. And like you say, whose points is it anyway? There's a scene from a hat. 2 cars going side by side. What's your best response? Kartik Pai once again defends on the inside. And that could be the story of this race. And they look at the timing tower. They notice that they don't have to worry about Ruiz. They can do this all day long now for the remaining 8 laps. They don't have to worry about the rest of the traffic catching them because they're matching. This is going to be good for Taylor. This is going to be better for Kartik Pai. They know that it won't be a problem because this man is just flying ahead right now.
Almost 5 seconds clear now at the front of the field with 7.5 laps to go in his race. Togo Hesada is proving that he is box office when it comes to the classics, and he is very, very tough to stop when he gets into groove. And even here today, he's proven that even with a few troubles out there, he is looking to fly with everything that he's got. I do want to point some other drivers who are making some great progress, not just Jason Clapper, who's past Bjorn Ackermann now and up into 6th position. You've got Alex Klessig, who's going for a move, but I want to focus on the 22 car, if it's at all possible, Mr. Director. I want to focus on Gord Janot, because right now he's up a very nice 9 places in this race in the number 22 car, over from 24th to 15th. And right now, he would have had a day today after starting 24th, very much like Gordie Howe. He hasn't quite got the Gordie Howe hat-trick, though, which is a goal, an assist, and a fight. I haven't seen him in a fight yet.
Well, let's hope he doesn't. I think he managed to avoid a fight because he would have had to done evasive maneuvers for that crash at the start of the race. And hopefully he didn't get involved in that, because then you might get that, but it might be kind of a bit like the Pirates Red Renaissance photo when it comes to fighting in that situation. Everybody all bunched up. These two are bunched up. There's no fighting. It's respect between these two. Taylor still looking for a drive to get through. What a result this would be on the broadcast for the Nomad team to see it. Is that a lap car having a spin? It is. And a slide. Barry West will go on by. He keeps looking. These two are having a barn burner everywhere you look, Jake. There's some fantastic racing.
Yeah, he got right up on the curb with a bit of too wide there and slight contact wheel over to side pod out there. So that was a really, really big move that needed to be done. Barry West couldn't get it sorted. And here comes Klessig taking a big wide line, trying to get himself the run. And he just can't get enough drive going up the hill. And you can see there where he's looking and how he's looking down at his shifter over, and with that VR and how he's going about it, you can really see him peering into the corner there and working through. Whereas if you were out there racing a car like this in the real world, the amount of neck muscles you would need to go and just peer through the corner like that, you would have to be absolutely, I would say, toned out to the masses with your neck muscles to try and do something like that.
And even more, do you notice he keeps looking to his right? He doesn't use a virtual mirror. Most VR drivers, they go for the full immersion. No virtual mirror. They use all the mirrors the sim provides, not what they give you virtually. So he's having to use those tiny mirrors, and they are tiny on these Lotus 79, to just look to see where Klessig is behind him. He has to constantly look behind through that mirror. At the same time, he's keeping his eyes on this line. He can't look at his gears. He can't do that. And he can't look at this battle going on because Ellis Spice is trying to keep Herner, trying to get past Daniel Gallas, and he goes a little bit too wide, and that will allow Gallas to retake that position. And surprisingly, no slowdown there for Herner. He's going to have to redo it all over again.
Yeah, he'll have the long front stretch, though, to go through, but keep an eye for second, because look at what's just gone on for Taylor Lane, who has gone through. So Taylor Lane is now up on the timing tower into second position with a wonderful move into Acqua Minerale, but Daniel Gallus here, who we're focusing on 17th, has held his position and done so wonderfully there to make it happen. Kartik Pai is now back to third.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic move. Just in that little kink right before turn 11 into Acqua Minerale, he was able to just, well, actually was turn 11, just able to make a little bit of a tap there, get on through, and there was nothing that Pai could do, and he had to just concede that as Daniel Gallus continues to hold his position and starts to pull away from Herner after that mistake. The starter, fastest lap again. That's not a problem right now. Let him drive as he drives. Gallus continues on. I will also keep an eye out. Jason Clapper is about to get top 5. Here's the replay for that overtake. There's the move, a bit of a slide. But again, eyes on Jason Clapper as well. He's about to go 23 positions up. Shady Ahmad has nothing for him. Welcome to the top 5, Jason Clapper.
What a stellar drive this has been, and Ricardo Ruiz, by comparison, worth noting on that last lap, was a full 1.3 seconds slower. Jason Clapper will catch him at this rate in 3 laps, and he's got 5 laps to play with. So Jason is going to be going like the Clappers because he knows that Ricardo Ruiz, who is in 4th position, is not safe. Kartik Pai's not giving this one up against Taylor Lane. These two have been pretty much chalk and chalk in terms of the way they've been going about. Not chalk and cheese, chalk and chalk. They've looked like exactly the same driver around this track today.
Yeah, leave the cheese to us in the West Country. You keep your chalk, and that's what we're going to see right now. And they're actually using chalk lines. That's the off-track lines. They are really pushing this hard to just see. They haven't had an off-track today or a slowdown penalty, keeping it in. But again, Taylor's struggling right there. A little bit of a slide, a lot of a slide there. But Kartik cannot do anything with it. He's going to have to wait for this overspeed. The overspeed works, but you're going to have to try and sell a dummy here, Pai, if you want anything to do. Taylor's going to hold this. He's just going to do a little bit of a lift, I feel, and that's just going to be fine. But the lap times start to tick down here. There's 4 to go. You can't constantly be giving up to make an overtake into Tamburello for the next 4 laps. You're going to have to do something quickly.
And there is a difference between a car at the start of the stint and the car at the end of the stint because of how hard they are having to fight and the fuel that gets burnt off. That's why we see the fuel outweighing those who are trying to make it happen. Togo Hesada, wonderfully dominant at the moment. Barry West, by the way, look at that on the timing tower. It's going to go flying by Jean-Francois Boscus, or will they at Tamburello go by? Boscus round the outside, holds it off, and Barry West will say, that's interesting. You're going to bring Alec Klesic back in. I'm sure you probably don't want that.
Do you want that, sir? Do you really want that, sir? That's what Barry's saying right now. He had the chance, but I think he went a little bit too wide into Tamburello and just brought Boscus back into it. And with that battling, it brought into Klesic. And this is not what either of those two want. They want to be keeping this battle. Top 10 is important for championship standings. Again, none of these drivers, I don't feel, have had a top 10 in a while. They're all looking to find it, but 3 do not go into 1 here. Ahead of them's a mistake once again, though, from Gabriel Martinez. This is going to be a 4-way dance. Get your blanket out, Jake. You can put them all under it.
Yeah, and Gabriel Martinez cannot afford to make too many more of those mistakes. He's been finding an off here and an off there, and the more he finds an off, he'll be in trouble. But now it's a battle of Maccas out there on the front stretch. Ricardo Ruiz is now behind Jason Clapper here, who's up to 4th position. So the move has been done, and Clapper finds himself through Tamburello without any troubles. Pass done, by the way, on the exit of Ravazza 1, a half slide into the grass and gravel there for Ricardo Ruiz, and that will be a case of him looking down, and he'll kick that little bit of grass and gravel the next time he goes around and goes, oh, that was 4th place gone.
Not only that, Jason Clapper's thinking, that's 24 positions I've gained this race. He's only 21 seconds behind Togo Hesada. That just goes to show how much Hesada's been driving and how much work Clapper's had to do. And we get back to this battle with Alex Klesic still trying to get to Barry West. And you realize because Barry's had to be defensive here, he can't look forward. He has to look backwards on this battle with Klesic, who now makes another mistake. But has the damage been done with 3 to go? Can Barry catch up to the guys in front, which is Boscus and Martinez having their own little battle? Even if he does, he'll be bringing along Alex Klesic, because Klesic will be the little boy being towed along saying, wait for me, wait for me.
Well, that top 10 becomes interesting. What will also be interesting is the top 5, because Shadi Ahmad will be eyeing up a way through on Ricardo Ruiz. Also, for 2nd and 3rd, the final 2 spots on the podium, Taylor Lane will be trying to keep at bay Kartik Pai, who has been a very consistent driver over the course of his runnings through the many various seasons. He's so good at prioritising a finish that sometimes it's the outright pace which becomes the weak link. But here in this series, this season, he looks like he's got a fair bit of it to work with. Now they run to Tosa Corner and look to go around the long left-hander, back up the hill again, searching for opportunities towards Piratella Corner. Then the 90-degree left-hander at the top of the hill through the small kink right. Now for the big long left-hand bend, and Kartik Pai still looking to try and gear something up.
This is where he made the overtake a few laps ago, was into this corner, into Aqua Minerale. Go downhill, keep on the brakes, go uphill. Don't run too wide, you'll get yourself a slowdown and an off track. And that means you can't get on the throttle as smooth as you want for this corner. It's Cressini nowadays. Look at the curves. You can take some of it in these cars. You can't take all of it. You've got to make sure you don't kick that out. Thankfully today, knock on the head here, knock on wood. No driver's made a mistake there. And for Toga Hisada, Barney will be waving that white flag. And all he's got to do is just keep it clean for 90 more seconds.
Well, it's been a wonderful display of recovery driving by Togo Hisada so far. That margin is huge. 2nd and 3rd, and as well 5th and 6th to be decided on this final lap of the race. Hisada dominant right now at the front as he exits Tamburello. Taylor Lane still has himself the 3-car length gap going into Tamburello Corner, but each and every corner here is going to be difficult. And here comes Shadi Ahmad looking for the top 5. Flag represents the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and he'll look at Ricardo Ruiz, who's heavier on the brakes and's going to go around, losing the rears. Shadi Ahmad will scamper to a top 5. Bjorn Ackermann will pick one up on the final lap of the race, and Ricardo Ruiz has driven a wonderful 24 laps of racing, but the last one not good enough. Through Aqua Minerale then, for the final time, goes Togo Hisada up towards the curve of Grassini. That gap at 11.5 seconds does not indicate the 6 seconds he had to chase down when he had a screen freeze halfway through the 5th lap of this race. This has been a simply wonderful case of seeing what a legend can do out there, and he might be one of the most underrated and best sim racers the world has to offer. Hazukashi Sawa Manugare, Saiko Reberu no Kaifuku, Togo Hisada wins at Imola.
The only words I've got to say are Ichiban Hisada. And meanwhile, while that has been happening, Taylor Lane will hold off Kai to get that P2. In the back of the field, Gabriel Martinez and Boscus had a little coming together going into Villeneuve, and that caused a lot of issues. Jason Clapper makes up 24 positions to get that 4th position. What a drive that is from the man who loves to go last to first, and last to first he went today. And Shady Ahmad, he will get that P5. What a P5 that's going to be, but more battles are happening out there. This is Barry West, Alex Keswick, Boscus. They're trying to find the final 2 positions into this top 10. Free does not go into 2, and a slide from Barry into the barriers. He got too hot on the tyres. Can he get this spun around without causing damage? He's going to be the patient man. He will lose a couple positions, maybe even another, but he knows he does not want to try and rejoin, and he's got problems. He's going to try and nurse that car back. What an unfortunate end for a fantastic drive.
Alexander Matei goes through, and Barry West, I think, will look around at himself and go, how on earth did I do that? Final corner on the cameras, and look at this for a drag race over towards the line. Keith Herner trying to steal one late on Ellis Spice, who's got the inside line and staves it off by just about a tenth of a second. Daniel Gallus is trying to serve a black flag penalty here on the final lap of the race. He has hit his box, but I don't think the penalty is going to be served because it's a drive-through at 17. So Gallus here, I think, is going to know he's going to be the last car. It doesn't matter where he finishes or whether he doesn't. His race is going to be run. So let's get confirmation of result then. Here from the Autodromo Nazionale, Enzo e Dino Ferrari, Togo Hesada, 12.4 seconds. Not entirely plain sailing out there with Taylor Lane in second position and Kartik Pai rounding out your podium then in position number 3. It would then be Jason Clapper from 28th position on the grid. 4th, he will finish here in this race with Shadi Ahmad in 5th and Bjorn Ackermann then in 6th position. It will then follow Ricardo Ruiz with a spin late on the final lap of the race, seeing Shadi Ahmad take that top 5 as Mickey Friesen would go to 8th place. Jean-Francois Boscus would be 9th, and with a gain of 7 over the course of racing, Alec Klessig would round out your top 10.
Well, we get to the second page, and Gabriel Martinez, it was a great start, but not a good finish. Down 7 positions to 11th. And Kurt Clapper, he made up 6 himself to come home in 12th with Alexander Matei in 13th. And Barry West, what could have been there, will finish 14th, but he could have had a top 10 almost. Gord Janot, as we were talking about earlier, makes up 9 to go 15th. Ellis Spice will be in 16th. And then it's Keith Herner in 17th. Ben Summers makes up 9 himself into 18th. Andrew Dixon will take 19th, and 20th belongs to Daniel Gallus.
Over the page, and we start to see drivers who are a lap down or worse. A lap down for Fabrizio Raffa, 2 laps down for Julius Müller there in 22nd, and everyone else behind that is in retiree central, with the exception of Byron Long, who is 8 laps down. Connor Levy would be 6 laps down, with Alec Cunningham, Carlos Peralta and Jason Krakowiak in trouble, as well as Miguel Morland and Matthew Cockerham then finding issues on the opening lap of this race. So drama, to say the very least. An opportunity to chat with some of these drivers, and first and foremost, Taylor Lane, who picked up himself up a podium here today, is stood by in virtual pit lane with Craig King.
Yep, got Taylor Lane with me today. And Taylor, what a drive that was. For a second, you were leading the race, and it looked like it could have been a surprise there, but unfortunately, it has to be said, the pace from Hesada today was just too tough for anybody.
Yeah, I never thought I would be leading the race at all. As you've seen the results, I'm usually sort of pushing on the top 10. But yeah, Hesada's pace was incredible. I saw him spin. I was absolutely gobsmacked. I saw him just off in the gravel, and all of a sudden I was in second place. But that was so tough. I am drenched in sweat right now.
Yeah, it's still warm in the UK, folks. So it is still a little bit warm, and we don't have aircon in every house, so I can imagine that. But Taylor, the battles you had with Kartik out there today were fantastic, and we're just seeing on the replay, this is probably the move that will probably set the move of the month on iRacing. Just going into braking into Acqua Minerale. You don't do that, Taylor. What were you thinking?
Well, there was a little bit of squeeze in a few laps before, so I thought, we're going to race like that. So it was all balls to the ball at that point.
It was balls, but of course we have to say, it is fair. It was respectful driving out there today by both of you.
It was there. Great respect to the other driver. Yeah, it was a great battle. I had a great time.
Well, we go from Imola and we stay in Europe. It's next week. It is Magny-Cours, not a track everyone's familiar with. Do you have any experience with that as we go to it? And I do know other things are on next weekend. Will we be seeing you here once again?
You will see me here. And I do have a little bit of experience. I've done some F3s on iRacing around there. It's a brilliant track, very fast, very technical. So looking forward to it.
Well, we look forward to seeing it. The Nomad driver, Taylor Lane, there finishing in second. A split second, Jake, was leading the race, but it all came down to one man with so much pace. It's Toga Hesada. I think you might have walked down to the victory circle to see the man from Japan.
I very much have. And Togo, today was a day of making sure that victory was needed. No Pauli Partonen, no Journo Frietscher. And so today, maximum points for you could have been the only option you were looking at. What was the thought process then about lap 5, lap 6, when the screen freezes, you go off Aqua Minerale, and suddenly you've got a lot of work to do?
Oh, sorry, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay, yeah, just it's I think it's kind of toughest race. I just thinking about I have to retire car after the lap 6 or 7 because the screen chattering, freezing. Yeah, it's lot. But yeah, fortunately, after the 10 laps or 11 laps or so, the PC's my computer is being good again. So yeah, I can manage to bring the car to the home.
You were able to bring the car home. That was so critical, especially with that qualifying effort to be 9/10 of a second clear of anybody else. Were you expecting a gap that big when it came to qualifying today?
Yeah, I'm very confident with my settings this week. Yeah, so I was thinking about the Topi Courtniemi is practicing a lot this week, so yeah, I'm really looking forward to battle with him. But unfortunately, he's not today. Yeah, but yeah, I have confidence with my base today. Yep.
It's going to be very similar in terms of setup, I feel, going from one racetrack to the next, because we move away from racing action here at Imola. We move on over to Magny-Cours in the centre of France. And so a circuit that has a lot of tight braking zones, a lot of different thought processes that have to go through. With a confident performance like this, your second win out of 2 starts, do you feel like you are the driver to beat right now?
Yeah. Yeah, it's but the Magny-Cours I never drove with 79, so it's pretty challenging to make the setup to under the meta race space. So yeah, but I'm really looking forward to it.
Well, we'll give you a big arigato gozaimasu over to you. Toga Hisada, a race win here in Imola, and doing so with a wonderful display of driving and a little bit of a walk down the paddock then to one of the fan favourites for you, Craig, because I believe you caught up with Barry West.
I love it when I get to talk to Barry West, as I say in my West Country accent. Barry, I've got to address the final corner on the final lap. We were all raring for that top 10, and it just fell there. Was it a bit too much throttle on the final corner?
Yeah, do we have to talk about that?
I've got to address it. I'm sorry, Barry.
Yeah, no, I was pushing too hard, and I just overstepped the mark. Yeah, it was a bad move on my part, really. Yeah, I shouldn't have done it. I was trying to get a good exit so I could get who was it in front of me? Is it Jean? I mean, I had a really good race with Jean and Mickey earlier on, and I think I had the pace to Valet. So I thought, don't make a mistake on the last lap. But yeah, it was a bit frustrating, really. But yeah, it was a good race, all in all. I'm glad I got over the line.
Yeah, it was great seeing you as well, that the moves you were making getting up there as well. It's a track that's not in modern day configuration easy for overtaking. And we saw a lot of the time you were having to go and try defend or go around the outside of the first corner to Tamburello. It looked very tricky. And we also saw, thanks to your VR, it also looked a little bit too overwhelming.
Yeah, I'm sweating a bit now. Yeah, it's it was quite entertaining. Yeah, I'm just annoyed that I didn't get a top 10. But on one, I don't know if you caught it on camera, but one occasion I had a run on Jean-Francois on the way out of the last corner, and he squeezed me onto the grass, and I thought, no, I'm going for it, and I had 2 wheels on the grass, and then I just had to lift in the end. But yeah, that's racing, I suppose. It's whether it's fair or not, he was weaving a little bit down the straight, and I had this good run on him. I thought, if I can get past him, I can hold him off. But Yeah, that was it. So that cost you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 places.
Oh, don't count them, Barry. Don't count them, please don't. It was still a good win. It was still a good race from you today. And of course, we were talking about it earlier to Taylor. It's Magny Core next week. It's not a track everyone drives around here. Do you have any experience? Because it's going to be one that, like Jake was saying earlier, you might just take the same setup and just drive it and just hope for the best.
Yeah, I don't know. I've raced there a few times, but it's that the bit before the yeses where you it just lures you into going too fast, and it's so easy to just drift off. But yeah, it's gonna be tricky. It's gonna be tricky, and with so many new drivers as well, it'd be interesting to see how many turn up and how many can cope with it. To be honest.
Well, we'll wait and see. That's a week to go, and hopefully the weather's going to be cooler compared to what it's been like in the UK. You're the last man, and we always love to hear from you, Barry. It's only fair if we have you have a few quick shout-outs.
Cheers, Craig. Well, I'd like to give a shout out to Togo because his new setup he posted was brilliant. I mean, you could feel like you could chuck the car around. And yeah, I did feel much more confident with it than the other sets I was trying all week. But yeah, really good. And congratulations to him for winning. What did he come to? Yeah, first, and Taylor second, and Karthik third. That's Jason came through again, and there's no point in fighting Jason because you just lose so much time. I know he's going to be respectful, and he waits until the straights and all that, so it's just a little lift on the straight and let him pass. So I didn't lose too much time, but yeah, well done to them.
Yeah, well done to them. And of course, a well done to you, Barry, for another great race. Barry West, who finishes in 14th. A little bit unfortunate there for him today, Jake, but a great drive. I don't know about you. I'm going to find a place to sleep right now.
Yeah, this is one of those races where we have had a lot of good action to go through, and it has truly been fantastic. And the only place you can catch it is with us, not only with the Global Sim Racing channel, but on iRacing as well, as we get ourselves sorted. Want to give a massive thanks to the team who has brought this show over to you here today as part of a Genesis Extreme production, from Craig King, from Daniel Costello, and of course from Dougie Beard, who has brought himself into play. In just 7 days' time, the day before Bastille Day in France, we head to one of the great French circuits. The Circuit de Nevers-Magny-Cours becomes the next port of call, the 4th round of the championship. You can catch that with us here on the Global Sim Racing channel. But the key here is so simple. Amazing racing happens when amazing drivers can go to a level that everybody else just can't. The key is simple. Turgo Hesada was in another stratosphere to go and have a screen freeze, to drop 10 seconds, and to still win by 12. Everybody else is now going to be in a huge bit of shell shock. It's now time to attack. It's now time to lick some wounds. And now who is going to storm back and gain their independence as they work hard heading over to Magny-Cours? We'll see you in 7 days.
This is iRacing.